Hi there. Welcome back to the Collage Creative podcast, hosted by myself, Amy Small. This podcast is an interview show dedicated to uncovering the stories, motivations, daily routines, and practices of people who are living life on their own terms through creative work that they love. So it has been a very long time, and I apologize for that if you enjoy this podcast and you're like, where'd she go? Where did we go? It has been a wild year with a few changes within my family and my husband's work and just all the business things, but I'm hopeful that I'll be able to hop back to it. I've got a little more help in the business coming, and I have a few episodes that I recorded quite a long time ago that I haven't released yet. So I'm very excited to share those all with you. But we're not going to dive into any of that in this episode because this episode is really all about our guest, Rachelle of Moondrake Co. So if you don't know who Rachelle is an indie dyer based out of Oklahoma City with her own gorgeous and unique way of dyeing yarns. They are incredibly vibrant and happy and just all around beautiful. In this episode, we dive into her story. We go deep into her roots. We talk about how she found knitting and all the other careers she did before she got to where she is now. My favorite part is at the end when she tells us a piece of wonderful advice for if we have a creative idea we want to birth out into the world and how to bring that out and what helped her. So let's hop to it. Now, one other thing before we dive right in is that we have a collaboration with Rachelle, and it's really cool. It's our yarns. She's hand dyed them, and they're so beautiful. And that's coming out mid-August. So part of bringing this podcast to life was really to shine a light on Rachelle and how incredible she is and her story. So most of the podcast is all about that. But at the end, we do talk about the collaboration together a little bit too. So that's that. Let's hop to it. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the show. Today on the show, I have Rachelle of Moondrake Yarns. She is the chief dyer there, where she creates the most incredibly vibrant yarns. I don't know a whole lot about her story, so I'm super excited to dive into it with all of you today. Welcome to the show, Rachelle.
Thank you. Thank you, Amy. Thank you for having me. Hi, everybody.
I'm super excited. I tried to do some digging on your website and I couldn't find out anything about your story. So we are going to really get into it today. But before we dive into how you got where you are, I'd love to hear just where you are in the world and a little bit about what your day-to-day looks like, and then we'll go back in time.
Okay. How my days goes every day, I wake up and then we go to work, and then first we will usually have a meeting and talk about what we dye, like what is the work today, and then we will separate, like teams will separate to do their own task, and then I usually will be answering emails and planning other stuff, and maybe if I have time I will create colors. Mostly usually it's like really yarn related. Like I am usually on the computer searching for yarns, like for different types of yarns, and learn about different new sheets coming or all kinds of things.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's a misconception that some people have about creative business, is that we're not on our computers that much doing research and planning inventory, and that is not always the truth. So I'm glad you debunked that. And tell us where you are in the world. I know, but others might not.
Originally, I'm from Canada. Mm-hmm. And I married my husband, who is born and raised in Oklahoma. So after we got married, I moved here. It's 2015. And since then, I've been living here like almost 10 years.
Gosh, that's a long time.
Yes.
Awesome. So let's go back in time and talk about the beginning of your business and how this creative idea came to be. I'd love to hear, even if there's more to it before just beginning the business, when you started knitting or crafting or even getting into yarns, and how your love of this world came to be, and then the business. So take us as far back in time as it goes. Maybe it doesn't go that far back in time. I don't know.
When I first started knitting, it was really far back when I was like, I think around 10 or 11 years old. My aunt actually is an avid knitter. Like she knits every day, all the time. If she have a little bit time, she would just sit there to knit. So, and she knit all the stuff for the whole family. She doesn't just knit for herself. And then when I turned a little bit interested in boys, and then I thought, sweater for a boy that I like, then maybe he will be my boyfriend. So that start my first sweater. And I didn't knit anything else. I just start right with a sweater.
Wow.
I didn't learn how to knit a scarf or a hat. It's just
Oh my God.
right away is a sweater, because that is my goal. I just want to knit a sweater. And then I begged my aunt to teach me how to knit. And we learned. She loved Japanese design, so all her books and patterns are Japanese designers. So Japanese designer, they don't they write pattern not in lines, they write in charts. So it's so easy for a new beginner to learn just following the chart. So that's I did took a year to knit that sweater.
Wow.
And then I finished it, but too late. Move on. Everybody moved on, and then I didn't get it to give it to the boy I like. And then, but my aunt still kept the sweater from to this day. That's how I start knitting.
Wow, that is so amazing. So I will be curious to know, as we dive in more to your story, if you always go just 100% with every idea.
That's how I did.
So
That's how
after,
I start dyeing too. It's like I didn't learn anything else or like get interested or test anything. I just go right away. Dye yarn.
wow,
Yeah.
wow. So were you, after this first sweater, were you knitting a ton? Did you start to really embrace it and knit more and more things?
After the sweater, I didn't knit much, and then started university and all this stuff. I didn't knit much, and then but after finishing school, I started working as a programmer, and sometimes I need something to feed my creative side
Yep.
of my. I want to do something with my hand. I like crafting. I do. I also crochet. I do
Okay.
sewing. I do a lot of different crafts. So and then I pick back up knitting. Just knit this tiny little thing for kids, for my sister's kids and stuff. And then after I got married, I moved to Oklahoma, and then I met a group of knitters. And then that's how I started to get back like full on knitting all the time.
Okay, got it. Very cool.
Mm-hmm.
And then when did this idea of, oh hey, like I could dye my own yarns come into play?
It was first time I wanted to knit a color work sweater.
Okay.
So the yoke is like has like at least 3 colors. So I didn't want to use commercial yarn. I was asking friends of the knitting group. I said, I don't want to use commercial yarn. What other yarn I can use? And then they introduced me to hand dye yarn. And then that is just opened the door. And then it's like, whoa, I was so amazed. Every day I come to the computer, I just research all the hand dyer. And then I was like, it's fascinating. And then they said, you can dye your own one. If you buy the yarn and dye, you can dye your own ones. And then that's how I started.
Oh my gosh.
And then my first color yoke sweater, I dye all the yarn by myself.
That's so cool. So the yarn came out well. When you went, it actually came out well. Well, that's pretty incredible.
Yeah.
Wow.
It was amazing.
And what color did you go with for the first yarn that you dyed?
Actually the first batch, I dyed a bunch of minis in speckles. They're all speckles yarn. And then my friends, they all took it away, so I don't have them anymore. They all just got it, like they got it all. And then the second batch, I dyed tonal color because I want to do the color work sweater. Yeah. So that's how I did it.
That's so cool. And so at the time, were you working the programming job too, or like was this just on the side, or is at some point this switched to be like a big business and a big operation? So tell us a little bit about, I guess maybe the question is more, what was the transition from you just, dyeing yarn for one sweater for yourself to where you are today?
First time I moved here, I still do a little bit programming job. I also own a shop in Toronto with my friends. So we were still in the business. And then later on, they said it's kind of hard to communicate and work together. So they bought my shares. So I was out.
Okay.
And then we met some friends here. We like board games. So we opened a board game shop.
Whoa, here. Cool. That's so cool, Rachelle.
Yeah. And then daytime, I teach people how to play board games. At night, after work, I came home, we eat dinner. And after that, I just I would just knit all the time. And after I dye more yarn, and then I went to a local yarn shop and show her my yarn, and they want to carry my yarn right away. Then I told my husband, I think I need a business set up here. Then that's how it become today.
Wow. So do you work on this board game business still?
No.
That sounds really interesting. What type of board games were you teaching people how to play?
We actually have a board game cafe. So it's like a cafe. People come into the cafe. We have like over 5,000 board games for people to play.
Oh my God.
So you buy a coffee and then buy a pass, and then you can access to all the board games we had in the store. Wow. And if they don't know how to play, we will just sit down and play with them and show them how to play the board game.
Wow. That's genius. Super cool.
But pandemic did kill the business. So we closed right around pandemic.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. It was that's a really tough time. But an opportunity for you to begin this other business as well.
Exactly.
To where it is today. So when I first came across your yarn, it was in Mermaid's Pearl, which is a beautiful yarn store in Wickford, Rhode Island. Mm-hmm. And it blew my mind. So I'll make sure to include some photos of your yarn and link to your website in the show notes, because the colors are just electric. They are so vibrant. So tell us a little bit about the yarns you want to put out in the world and what you're inspired by and what kind of excites you the most in terms of your dyeing.
This is a little bit, it's a tough question to answer because comes to how I choose color or how to make decision what kind of color to dye is really a broad spectrum.
Yeah.
It's
And
not easy
sometimes
to
you might
answer.
like, yeah, sometimes you might like neutral. And then sometimes you might like a really bright, like neon purpley color or something like that.
It also depends on the breed of the sheep too. If the yarn base is a little bit muted, then I will not go with bright color. But it's I do like testing different kind of different bases. So like usually when I get something new, I will just dye a whole bunch of color first. And then I will see which one they look the best presenting on that base. Then I will decide what kind of the which part of the rainbow is supposed to be on
Okay.
that yarn. Yes.
Okay.
That's how I choose color. It's not like I come, it goes with my mood, how I want it. It's how do I represent the color on the base the best? Yes.
That's really interesting. So there's a lot of experimentation and trial and error. And I'm sure your expertise at this point comes into play a big part because you're working with all this background knowledge that you have from years of putting in into
researching,
dyeing and dyeing all these other yarns. So that is super cool. Awesome. Well, I think at the end, I'd love to talk a little bit more about our collaboration because we are doing something very exciting. But first, I want to keep the focus on you and your story. So let me go to my questions here. Okay, so this is a question I love to ask people, and it's just, what do you think gave you the confidence to just start your business? Like, it takes a lot of guts to put yourself out there and say, hey, I'm in business now, like, buy my stuff. Well, it sounds like you've had multiple businesses, so maybe this was earlier for another business, but what do you think helped you? Maybe it was something inside you, maybe it was someone else or some example set by someone. What do you think gave you the confidence to start the business?
I did have a very at first I start this business, I didn't know that it can go that far. I thought I will be just locally do a little bit and then I keep my housewife life and then just do a little bit. And then pandemic hits and then everybody start knit, like everybody, I think the knitting brought up like around that time, like just get like from 50 to 80%, so much more people started to do crafting. So, and then the demand of that having hand-dye yarns is get all the way up too. So I met with a dear friend and she was a yarn shop owner. She gave me advice how to handle this kind of business. She said, dyeing yarn, like I still remember the conversation she told me, like dyeing yarn is not easy. You think it's fun, but if you have to dye a same color for like 1,000 skein at a time, then you will get burned out. And then you need to, how you manage to not get burned out and still keep your creativity alive is the main thing to maintain. That always in my head. So, and then I got lucky to collaborate with the Grocery Girls. And then that's how I got a little bit more exposures of my brand. And then from there, it just keep going. I consider myself very lucky all the time. Yeah.
But of course, it's your yarns and your colorways are a big piece of that too. It's not just magic. But I love that that advice that the business owner gave you. It's something Elizabeth Gilbert, the author, talks about a lot in her book, Big Magic, is the idea of, if you have something you love to do creatively, when it's your job, will you love it in the same way if you have to do it 1,000 times? And that answer might differ for certain people. They might say, yes, I want to do that, but I'm going to need a team to help me so that I don't burn out. Or, you know what? I'm going to stick with my day job and keep this my nighttime thing because I don't want to make 1,000 of those and kill the joy I have in this creative pursuit or creative hobby that I'm doing. So yeah, I love that advice.
Yeah, that was a very good advice. But it's not like I hate what I'm doing. I do love what I'm doing. And I feel lucky that to this day, I'm still busy working with the yarn business. Like, that is very nice.
Yeah, I agree, because I do think that the business since the pandemic has had a lot of challenges. And so to be in a good spot is awesome.
Yeah.
And that actually leads me to my next question, which is a tough question. So feel free, get as personal or not as personal as you want.
Okay.
So when something challenging arises, like a fire in the business, I think when we're in small business, this is pretty common on a, pretty regular basis, no matter who you are. How do you pick yourself back up? Or what helps you move from a state of like, oh my gosh, this is happening, to I can move forward, progress, and learn, grow, solve, whatever it might be?
I am kind of like, my personality actually like to solve problems. It's my thing. So if I get obstacles in the way, I will try to, I will never try to like work around it. I will try to just dissolve it. If I can. If something that I cannot control, I cannot, like, it's out of my control. But I do like, everybody have ups and downs. Like when I'm down, I will my husband is my first support. He will always like try to talk me out of the rut, and then maybe and then we will go do something. Like I like go to eat. Like I like to eat in a fine like not fancy restaurant. Like find different kind of food and cuisine. He will go just find something and say, let's go eat this, and then I would just change my mood a little bit.
Yeah.
And and then other way I can just sit, if I have some quiet time, I can just calm myself down, and then I would just think, like, if I cannot think through the problem, then I would just say walk away, like just don't think about it, walk away, do something else. It might just resolve by itself.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, like there's no solution for that, but just how you treat your mental health is very important too.
Yeah. I love all of those ideas so much. I think that folks are going to be really inspired by that. Awesome. So, okay, this is a good one. So I'd love to know what's happening when you're knitting, or it could be dyeing but I imagine you're in an office with people. So I'm thinking more when you're by yourself. Do you have something playing in the background, like audiobooks, TV, podcasts, anything that you can recommend to us?
I like true crime.
You like true crime? Which ones are your favorite?
No, I watch all the true crime. Like, if I'm knitting, usually I will find YouTube, find some channel that just talk about true crime. And I'm not fascinated by serial killer, but I do like to learn their stories, how they become serial killers, or it's not my fantasy, but that is something I listen in the background when I knit. And dyeing yarn, I usually will just either no noise, nothing. I like quiet. I like absolutely no noise. So sometimes if I really want to create, I will just find a Saturday or Sunday, nobody there, just by myself. And I have nothing on.
Yeah. And is that
No
so you
music,
can
yeah.
really focus? Do you think,
Yes.
is that what is, yeah, that's so fascinating. You are like the second person that's ever given me that silent answer. And the first was Stephen West.
Really?
Yes.
Wow,
So
amazing.
I love it. You're in good company. No, that's really fascinating.
I really
So
do. Yeah, I really do like absolutely no noise. Like
I
especially in the morning when I drink my coffee, I like to just sit in the dark.
just have a
Yeah.
moment of stillness, of quiet. Yeah, I totally get that. And I think it's hard. It's actually really hard to make yourself create that space or create that space because the world wants us to be like always watching, consuming, listening, busy. And so to actually say, you know what? No, I'm going to just shut it all out is very, very cool and very powerful. And so I used to only listen to Dateline whenever I would teach my do you do Dateline ever?
No, no. But
Well,
interesting.
well, it is true crime, but it
Yeah.
got really depressing for me.
Okay.
And I had to, because it was always like the husband was always killing the wife or vice versa, or like the son was killing the family. It was
Yes,
just
yeah.
so sad.
Yes.
And then I switched to romantasy, which is romance plus fantasy. And I'm never going
Oh.
back. I'm never.
Oh.
So I have some books for you to recommend to you.
I'll take that advice.
It doesn't sound like it's getting to you. Like I just noticed that, if I was in a phase of really teaching where I had to buckle down and knit a lot and then teach and knit and then teach, it would almost be like so much at once that it just got overwhelming. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I've noticed a big mood shifter in just changing from listening to those ones that were pretty violent to something more like, I think part of the reason I like them also is it's because it's creative. It's like about like a creative world that someone's made up,
Yes.
Anyway, side note.
It's interesting.
Yeah.
It's interesting. It's like from one extreme to another extreme, right?
Yes, totally. Totally. And I might be getting over my romantasy stage. I might be ready to like right now I do feel like I'm tuning into the news more and it's hard not to right now with all the election stuff. But so I don't know. The tables might be changing, but it's been really fun. A little escape for sure. In a different kind of way.
I'm also watching a lot of the election things too.
Yeah, it's hard not to right now. Okay, so you mentioned the morning routine of having coffee in silence in the dark. I love morning routines and geeking out about people about their morning routines. Now, some people I've had on the show are not morning people. So this ends up being more of an evening routine. So whichever you are is great. But I'd love to hear about what your mornings are like, before you go to the office, before you start your day.
I really do wake up and then first thing I will drink my coffee in the dark. And I like that. And I will not look at my phone, but I will just drink my coffee sitting in the dark, maybe staring emptiness. Like I don't actually look up. Yeah, I don't even look out to the window or anything. But like that stillness actually get you focused like really good. And then you will feel like you can tackle anything because like, oh, everything is clear. My mind is wake up and then I can tackle everything. That is how I do it.
Do you think of it like a kind of a meditative state or meditation in a way but maybe a waking meditation? It sounds like it the way you're yeah, that's so interesting.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's the word. Yes.
Yeah, it goes to show that there's so many different ways to meditate that don't have to be, I'm not drinking my coffee, I've got an app or something going. You can do it a way that works for you, that you like, that isn't necessarily like, I don't know, being a monk or something like that. So I love that example. Yeah, I love that. And I went to I went to a class recently about meditation, and it was sort of all about how to bring meditation down from this stage of sort of like in a monastery where it's just this one way, and it's really like, you know, if your mind wanders, that's not good, and just kind of this harsh like way of meditating that's can make you feel bad about your practice. I don't think it should ever feel that way, but the idea was that it's okay to, you know, not be sitting up straight, to not be in this certain, it's okay to kind of let it be however feels good for you, and to not beat yourself up if it's not this sort of classical way of meditating that a lot of us hear about.
That's true. That is kind of a meditation. I never thought about that.
Yeah, well, it feels like it, because I think I come out of mine and I think, oh, I'm ready for the day. I feel clear. I feel so.
Yeah, yes.
I can relate.
Exactly.
Yeah, I love that. Okay, so let's dive into what you're most excited about in your business right now. Like, what's coming up? I saw that you have the Rhine. I don't know if you have kits for Andrea Mowry's new sweater, but I did see that on your website, that something with her new sweater for Rhinebeck. So I'd love to hear a little bit about that, or whatever is most exciting to you right now.
In a week, I will be in Seattle for the Flock Fiber Festival. That is what I am like crunching right now.
Oh, wow.
It's my second year to go there. So it tickets are sold out, so it will be a few thousand people. So it will be a very adventurous weekend. So I look forward to that. I like Seattle. Last time I went there, I went everywhere. It's just like it's the culture compared here to there is so much different. I love Seattle, the atmosphere, like the diversities and everything.
Cool.
So going back there is exciting for me, actually.
Yeah, amazing.
Yeah, that is what I'm like right now is busy with. And then I also actually opened a little storefront in front of my dye studio.
Wow.
My dye studio has a tiny little storefront. I call it a showroom because it just features my yarn. So people who wants to look at all the colors, then I have a wall with all my colors on it. So every time people say, how many colors do you have? And then I show them the wall, and it is like, whoa.
Oh my
That's
gosh. I want to go there. That sounds amazing.
That is what another new thing too is I'm excited for all this kind of new things.
Super cool. That's awesome. So we'll make sure to link to that, and all the Oklahoma City folks, you've got to check out Rachelle's storefront.
Yeah.
Amazing. So then let's take a minute to talk about our collab, because that's coming up too, which is really exciting.
Sorry, I forgot about that one. That one is also coming up.
I wanted to hear about all of the other things that you have going on before we dove into that. So I came to you maybe I don't know if it was 6 months ago or maybe even less than that, and said, hey, Rachelle, what do you think about collaborating on some yarn? And I was so excited. We hopped on a Zoom, and you were pretty much all in from the start.
Yes.
And it took a lot of trial and error to get the results we wanted, which I'm just so appreciative of you for really not giving up on, your vision for what you had in mind. Yeah. So the yarn is our Spun Cloud Light yarn. It's thick and thin. And we have sparkle and no sparkle, which is kind of fun because I think a lot of people have actually been asking me for yarns without sparkle. I tend to always go more sparkle, more color, more everything. So we've got two different bases. And you tell a little bit about the colors, because these are your brainchild and your masterpieces.
And when you asked me to dye yarn, first of all, when I know that you asked me, that was such an honor because I know Knit Collage for a long time. And then I also bought your yarn, and then I'm like, oh my God, this is like once in a lifetime like opportunity. And then of course I say yes right away. It's like, whoa, like you don't even have to ask. Just throw me with your yarn. I will be so happy to do it. And then the yarn is so interesting. I like, first of all, like I like the thick and thin, the structure of it. And the yarn is really squishy. It's like, it's amazing. And then I test dye, and then I thought, okay, because originally we thought of one color.
Right.
And remember?
Right, I forgot about that.
Let's do one color. And then I thought, okay, after a few test color, and I said, we need another color to complement this color. And then we introduced like a second color. And I think both color works really well together. Even if you mix and match both of them, it will just flow nicely because it's a rainbow, right? It comes in a rainbow kind of spectrum, like all the colors inside a rainbow. And the dye just work very well on the, even if it looks thick and thin, but they just come out evenly. It doesn't look like something is like more dense, something is like more, it's very fluffy, very, I would say magical.
Totally. And it's not speckles. It's like, it's one color flows into the other.
To another color.
So for me, I really don't know anything about dyeing at all. So I just correct me if I say something. But it's really, to me, it's just, as a spinner, incredible to see the way that the color seamlessly flows from one to another. And the variations between each skein, like each skein is a piece of art. Like I'm a yarn lover, so I would just put it on the shelf and be very happy just to look at it. And I just did the photo shoot, this. I just did the photo shoot today, and I was having so much fun with Rhythm, the photographer, really getting all of these detail shots of how the colors flow together. I've never seen anything like it. It's just so pretty. And then the way it knits up is, so I've tried to give a lot of examples of how it knits up too in different stitches, cable, rib, and stockinette, so that you can get an idea, because I think, at least for me, because I don't knit with indie dyed yarns a lot, and this one, it's so unique to me. It's really helpful, I think, to see how it actually works up when you like get it. But I didn't combine them into a sample, so I have to do that now, Rachelle.
That's another idea. I think that is a good idea.
I am going to do that because I think a hat would be really cool, because I have a simple rib beanie hat. And I think if I did like half of, so there's one colorway that's electric seahorse, which is like kind of a neon, would you say it's like a neon purple-y green, blue?
Yes, they are neon, yes. And they glow in the black light.
Oh my God, I forgot about that. Oh, I'm so glad that I'm talking to you, because that is a very cool talking point.
Wear it to a club or something, you will glow.
Yeah. Oh yeah, we're going to the club for sure in these. Amazing. So there's that colorway, and then the other colorway is ultraviolet. What's the other one?
Ultraviolet unicorn.
And that's more full rainbow, but I think to me, it is a pink, predominantly pink, I would say, feeling
more sunshine.
Yes.
That way. Yes.
Yeah. It's, I mean, if you're a rainbow lover, like, it's going to just blow your mind. It's so amazing. So so these are the two colorways, and I don't know anything else about the process or the yarn. I mean, to me, it looks like a very time-consuming process to bring these to life. Would you say? I mean, that might be true of all your yarns. But it just seems, with all the amount of colors that's in each skein, like, it must have been a serious labor of love.
Yes, when we decide how to flow the color together, it was a little bit experiment, because sometimes if you pour yellow over blue, then it will have a little bit overlap with the green. So we will try to neighbor the color with a good way so they don't have some muddy color in between. So that's why purple will not match blue, because in between it will be muddy. So that was a little bit work around it.
Right. That makes sense. Well, it's a masterpiece, and hopefully I'll have those photos soon to share so people can see. And we have 3 patterns. So one of them is brand new, which is just like a simple raglan sweater, a very basic sweater. But for this yarn, you don't need a lot going on because the yarn is such a wow that a simple, because the yarn, it's got Rachelle's colors, but then it's got the texture of the thick and thin too, sparkler. So it's just a really simple raglan sweater. And then I did a beanie hat and a cable hat, which I haven't shown you yet either because I literally finished them at midnight last night. So
oh, wow.
I'll send you pictures, but they look really, really cool. So I'm super excited about it. I think the hats will be free patterns, and we'll do some kits. So yeah, I just thank you so much for saying yes to this, Rachelle, knowing that you had flock and like you have so much going on. I really appreciate all the time that you put into these.
It's my pleasure, seriously. It is. Like, pleasure is all mine.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Okay, so let's see. All right. Let's dive into just one final question. Well, I'll do 2. What's the best way for people to find you and follow you? And then the second question is, if there's somebody out there who wants to lean into a creative life in a bigger way, could be as a business owner, or it could even be just maybe even a deeper knitting practice or crafting practice, is there any advice that you would give them?
You can find me on Instagram. It's where I'm frequent for social media. Just my handle is Moondrake Co, like Moondrake and Co as a company Co. So give me a follow. It will be awesome. And you will see all my new stuff coming up on, like, I upload constantly. So it will be very up to date. For all the makers, keep doing what you have vision to. Don't stop. I know there might be people say, oh no, you should not do this. Like, don't listen to other people. If you think this is your thing, just keep doing it. That's how it goes.
I love that. Don't listen to other people. I'm writing that down. I love that so much. If you love it, keep going, keep doing it.
Yeah.
I love that so much, Rachelle. Thank you so much for taking the time. I will make sure to link to your Instagram and your website so folks can follow you. And I can't thank you enough for making time. Now I know you have flock coming up. Like, thank you so much. And of course, for getting us the yarn on time when you said you would get it to us is really awesome too. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you.
I hope you enjoyed this episode with Rachelle. I'm going to link to her website, to some information about our collaboration in the show notes. And from there, I would love to hear from you. If you're super excited the podcast is back on, let me know. Drop me a line on Instagram or via email at amy@knitcollage.com. I'd love to hear who you want me to interview on the show. And that is it for this week. I am starting a new newsletter that I just want to mention before we hop off here, which is really going to be all about creative small business and helping you, if you are a creative small business owner, grow your business and helping you solve some of the struggles that you're facing and move forward. So I've started this new newsletter. I've just sent 2 emails so far. It's very, very small so far, but I'm really excited about it. I've gotten a lot of responses from people letting me know what they're struggling with, and I plan to answer those questions and talk about those struggles on the podcast here. It's going to be a short form podcast, a lot shorter than our interviews, and they'll probably go in between the interviews. So you can totally not listen to them if you only want to hear the interviews, or if you're only in it for the small business help, you can just listen to the podcast. But I'm really excited about this. I think it's going to be a good fit for what I've been doing here for so long, because part of what I have been doing here is a fascination with creative people who are living lives that are off the beaten path. But part of it also is about learning from their success and their stories and what they're doing, and using all of that to think about how I can grow my own business. So it seems to fit very well. It will be a trial. I don't know if it will work or not, or if I'll stick with it, but I think I'm going to give it a go here. And then the only other thing I want to say is we'll have show notes up for the podcast right when this goes live, with links to Rachelle's site, the small business newsletter if you're interested in getting that, and then information on our collaboration with Rachelle as well. So all the yarns and the patterns that we have coming out that are so beautiful. All right, that's it for this week. Thank you so much for tuning in. I will see you back here so soon.